And good Monday morning, everyone. It is February 22nd, and today is our first day of the Lenten reading through 1st and 2nd Samuel, reading 2 chapters a day, each weekday, until we come to the Wednesday of Holy Week, and we will conclude with just reading 1 chapter. And every day I intend to send these accompanying commentary videos sent out by email, and I'll try to get these posted on each church's Facebook account as well. Today we are in 1 Samuel chapter 1 and chapter 2. I am reading from the New English translation, the Net Bible here on Bible Gateway. And this translation is the one that is being sent to your inbox. So, just very briefly, the historical backdrop, as 1 Samuel opens, is in the period of the Judges, but it's between the period of the conquest and kingdom phases. So it's after the Hebrews have entered into the Promised Land. But it's before the kingdom era, when Saul and then David becomes king. Now you'll notice, as Bible readers, that in Scripture, birth stories are very important. We see them with John the Baptist and Jesus in the New Testament. We see them with Isaac and Samson in the Old Testament. And we're going to see this with Samuel today. Birth stories are important for a number of reasons. One reason in these cultures, when they recorded birth stories, is they were often a way of portraying honor. How one was viewed was all socially was often indicative of how one was received socially, and these birth stories usually pack into it certain things that will give these that are born a certain amount of honor. Okay, the primary characters are going to be Hannah and Elkanah, her husband. And Elkanah has 2 wives, Hannah as well as Peninnah. Now, these 2 women, unsurprisingly, are going to be dueling women. Again, that's another part of Scripture that we see in the book of Genesis. There's a certain sibling rivalry and female rivalry there. And we see it in other parts of the Old Testament as well. And one might expect that 2 women married to the same man, even though their cultural standards were quite different than that of those who I am directly presenting this to, we still might expect that these 2 women could provoke jealousy among one another. The reason for the jealousy in this case is Peninnah has children and Hannah doesn't. Of course, we don't need a PhD in ancient Near East culture to understand that this is a sad thing. However, given the honor-shame paradigm within the ancient world, it was honorable to have children. It was shameful to not have children. My audience, regular audience, has heard me attest to this many times. But Elkanah, the husband, has a certain affection for Hannah, while Peninnah, her counterpart, would often rub her face in the fact that she didn't have children. Elkanah treated Hannah with a certain special affection and favor. Elkanah is going to realize that Hannah is depressed, and he's going to insensitively say to her, "Am I not better than 10 sons?" Here, we're in verse 8 of chapter number 1. "Am I not better than having 10 sons to you, Hannah?" Well, actually, no, Elkanah. That might be wishful thinking, but my regular audience has heard me attest many times that having as many children as possible was important. Having male children was mostly important in this patriarchal society. Having 10 male children would be phenomenal in this culture. It seems as though Elkanah and Hannah have some reasonably good relationship for that period of time, but no, he alone cannot compensate for 10 sons. So Hannah is going to barter with God. If you give me a child, I will turn him over to you and give him back to you, God. And so she's going to go to the tabernacle, to the sanctuary, to pray. And she's praying. She's moving her lips, but nothing's coming out of her mouth. Eli, now this other primary character in the introductory phase of these letters, the high priest Eli, he's going to see her, and he thinks that she is drunk. Well, she's not drunk. She is desperate. Eli gives her a blessing. The priest gives her a blessing. And wouldn't you know that her womb finally opens up? And of course, in all of Scripture, it places the responsibility, the biological responsibility of childbearing on women. What I mean is this. They didn't know or think about male infertility whatsoever. And so when a woman didn't have a child, it was blamed on her biological occurrence and not the male's biological occurrence. But anyway, that's not all that significant for us today. A child is born to Hannah, and she's going to name him Samuel. And once he is weaned, he's going to live with the priest. And so then, going into chapter number 2, we find here this prayer of Hannah. It's very poetic. It's almost a hymn that she writes. Very rich language here. I like verse 7 and 8. The Lord impoverishes and makes wealthy. He humbles and he exalts. For those that were in church with me yesterday, you'll recall reading from Luke 18, where Jesus is saying, those who are humble will be exalted, and those who are exalted will be humbled. He lifts the weak from the dust. He raises the poor from the ash heap to set them with princes. He bestows on them an honored position. She was without honor, being childless, and now she has honor, and so God has blessed her. So now the precedent for Samuel is set, and we can go into the story. And the story of how Samuel becomes prominent is in his rise is through the fall of Eli and Eli's sons, Hophni and Phinehas. Eli is the high priest. His sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are fellow priests. But Hophni and Phinehas, Eli's sons, they're stealing from the sacrifices. They're looking at it and saying, we are people who don't have excess food. We're bringing our meat to the table to offer and sacrifice. And maybe this doesn't make any sense. We should be able to consume this sacrifice, at least a part of it. Certainly, we as the priests, we should be able to consume and eat some of it for ourselves. And they were stealing part of the sacrifices. And if you know the Old Testament, you know that you're just not going to steal from God and get away with it. And so because of what Hophni and Phinehas are doing, they're getting a bad reputation. And Eli, the high priest, he's getting a bad reputation as well, because everybody knows he's old, he's no longer effective, he hasn't kept his sons in line. However, in contrast, simultaneously, Samuel is seen as a good rising star. People see that he is reputable and that he's going to be a good boy. All right. Then, as chapter number 2 concludes, a prophet comes to Eli and tells Eli that he and his sons are going down, that God is going to raise up a faithful priest. And here down in the conclusion of this chapter 35, God will raise up himself a faithful priest who will do what is in my heart and soul. I will build for him a lasting dynasty. Well, we know Samuel's going to be elevated. However, this seems to be even further prophetic than Samuel. A faithful priest who will build a lasting dynasty. This perhaps has reaches far beyond Samuel even into Christ. But anyway, it's 11 and a half minutes in. Going forward, I'm going to try to keep these videos to 10 minutes to hopefully keep our investment in our reading in these videos to total each day about 15-20 minutes of our time. And so I appreciate you joining with me on this Lenten journey through 1st and 2nd Samuel, and pray that you will find it rewarding. Goodbye.